Welcome to the JD Power Technology, Media and Telecom podcast. Today's theme is going to be where's the value in TV? My name is Andrew Heath, and I'm delighted to be joined by two of my colleagues at JD Power, Guy Cacciarelli. Hi, Guy.
Hi, Andrew. Great to join you.
And also Carl Lepper. Hey, Carl.
Andrew, great to talk to you again.
Well, today's theme, if we were thinking about wireless, I think we had a podcast a while ago. Wireless customers, are they delighted? Well, we're going to change. We're moving off of the telecom sector and we're going to go to media. So what I want us to do is just give some thought to what is a very dynamic industry right now. And I thought it might be real helpful, Carl, perhaps if we just kick off with some of the terms that are used: linear TV, streaming. What are these things? Let's make sure we've all got the same common understanding of what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's a good question. So, in the industry, linear TV or traditional TV would be what you've had over probably the last 25 years, where you have a provider that gives you a TV service, usually through a box of some kind. Used to be able to record it within the box, things like that. And now there's this new type of TV, streaming television, and that's going to come through your internet service. So if as long as you have internet of any kind, you can get a streaming channel or channels, and you can also even pay for and have a service that gives you live TV through streaming. A great example of that would be YouTube TV. So those are the two big areas and ways that people seem to watch television now, and a lot of what we'll be talking about today.
And it gets really fragmented, right, Carl? I mean, none of these are dominant providers of the service like there would have been 20, 30 years ago with your cable company. Even the biggest provider, and I believe that would be YouTube TV, is still only just in the double digits in terms of market share.
Very true. It is a dynamic time in history right now for how we're changing and how we view and how we approach media and video. So a lot of what is fun about this particular category right now is it's constantly moving and flexing, and even the top people in the nation really are still looking at it like I'm curious where it's going to land. So it's a fun time in this particular industry.
I often think about it. I mean, obviously our focus at JD Power is all about customers, end customers. And if anything, they are the most empowered they've ever been with TV. They're the ones who are choosing to select whatever service, whatever content they want. They've got way more options than we ever used to have when we just had a limited number. Fascinating to be able to be in that and see the customers leading the industry in the direction the customers want to go. I was curious, as we look at the results from our research, how do things such as how long a customer's been with a provider, whether that be a linear TV or a streaming provider, how does that impact their level of satisfaction based on what we see back from our customers?
It's interesting when you look at linear TV, or you could call it, you know, fiber or cable or even satellite TV, which are kind of all grouped together. Most of the respondents that we saw have been with that provider for over 5 years, a majority, in fact, of 60%. The challenge is the longer someone has been with one provider, the lower the satisfaction. And that could be for a number of reasons. But I think part of that is it's because as you've been there a long amount of time, you maybe haven't been taking advantage of better deals or less expensive options. And also, you might be in that position just because of the hassle or the challenge of switching. You just don't want to change. You don't want to switch. You don't want to cut the cord, or however you want to term it. And you seem to be kind of driven down in satisfaction because you might be feeling a little bit stuck. And on the flip side of that, the streaming live TV providers now, we're not seeing that problem. The people who have been with them for quite a while, maybe 5 or more years, it's not as many, it's a much lower percentage, But satisfaction isn't dropping. Satisfaction is being maintained no matter how long or the tenure with that provider. And earlier I used an example of YouTube TV, but there are others like that for live streaming TV.
And it's getting real competitive. Just from personal experience, I was gearing up with my latest offer from my linear TV provider coming to a conclusion, thinking, okay, I'll probably move over to streaming TV. And it wasn't as great a deal as I was expecting. So there's all sorts of issues regarding price competition that are influencing what customers see right now. I'm not even sure I will leave my linear TV provider, and yet, as you just said, Carl, I wouldn't say I was delighted by the experience I'm getting. I'll probably just stick with it. Guy, I'm curious on your views on this as well. I mean, with a thought to customers' behavior on how bundling has an impact on what customers see related to both TV and streaming. Have you thoughts regarding that?
Right, right. Yeah, bundling has certainly become a big focus, this past year or two. Even with streaming providers, they tend to have higher satisfaction. They also face greater customer turnover. Cancellation is easier, and individual streaming services, they face higher churn risk, and the issues of surviving by trying to go it alone. There's so many streaming services to choose from. Subscription fatigue has certainly become an issue with consumers. So it's all kind of come full circle. Like, as historically, content providers said for decades with their distribution on traditional cable and satellite providers, a la carte will never work. But the streaming platforms, like YouTube TV, Hulu Plus, Live TV, Sling, Fubo, Direct TV Stream, they also have a great rise as people cut the cord and replace their linear TV packages with less costly streaming packages. But the cable companies like Comcast and Charter, they saw the writing on the wall. They're using bundling as a real solution and strengthening their own streaming platform, Zumo. When the cable companies renegotiate their linear TV affiliate license fee contracts with like the big content owners like a Disney, ABC, ESPN, or Discovery, Warner Brothers, they're negotiating and bundling rights to package those content owners' subscription streaming packages like a Disney Plus or an HBO Max with other streaming packages, and giving their customers like one unique bundle discounted offer that perhaps they can't get elsewhere. So, we're also seeing the big content owners bundling their own brands and services together. Like, for example, Hulu bundled with Disney Plus and ESPN Plus and NFL Plus Premium, which they recently acquired in a deal with the NFL for their media assets. And now we're seeing even the streaming platforms, the virtual MVPDs, like YouTube TV, also leveraging bundling. We recently saw YouTube TV in a big battle with Comcast, NBC, and all their programming brands, which resulted in a deal that enabled YouTube to bundle Comcast NBC's streaming platform Peacock. So yes, bundling is a major focus and being leveraged as a key driver in satisfying their customers.
Yeah, it's fascinating because you've got it goes back to what we were talking about at the start, that it's the customers that are driving this. So all of these micro segments of customers that we are seeing that the providers are then looking to target with content, all of that is driven based on, well, I'm a customer that fits this profile of wanting this sort of content and this other sort of content. From the permutations are bewildering, and as a consumer, I think many of us, we hear it in our research, but we have the personal experience talking to friends and family of like, wow, working out what you get and how you manage your TV subscriptions and what's the right combination. It's almost like a full-time job. You could spend hours just going through the process. So, is it just going to always be like this going forward, Carl? Or is this what we as consumers have got to get used to? The new landscape of constantly thinking about what's the mix of content I get, where do I get it, how do I keep on top of all of this, how do I make sure I'm not buying stuff that I wanted 12 months ago that I no longer need, things like that. Is this what we're in for?
I think it's going to be what is the next game changer is the people who have the companies, I should say, who have the ability to group everything and give us the ability to make those kinds of choices. with the knowledge of how much things cost or what streaming service has the exact show that I want to watch and things like that. Giving the power back to the people and understanding all the different pieces of the puzzle and grouping those together is going to be key, because I honestly believe a lot of people want it to stay the way it's always been, and of course it's not. We've already kind of passed that hurdle. I personally wanted to watch every football game this year. Just to do that, the requirements were that I have to have CBS, Fox, NBC, ABC, ESPN, NFL Network, and Amazon Prime, plus some streaming services. It used to just be channel 11. Just watch one channel or channel 5 on your dial. So it's just, that's where things have gone. The complexity is here. How do you bundle that? How do you group that together and make it simple so that, let's say, someone that's older in age that has difficulty figuring all this out but likes to watch a certain baseball team or football team doesn't have the challenges that are currently being presented to them?
Yeah, it's complex and it's frustrating. Yeah, to get that right experience. And I'm a huge soccer fan. I'm getting a little nervous as we look ahead to the World Cup next year in terms of where's it going to be? Will I have access to everything? How am I going to make sure that I don't lose out? All those questions, and it's essentially 10 months before the event actually happens. I'm already starting to worry about it. And I think content is the key element that you mentioned there, Carl. I mean, ultimately, it's about what we watch. We're not choosing to go to a particular provider or to a particular service. We're choosing to go get the content. And I'm thinking through in terms of that broader topic, guys, will content and live events remain, I guess, the foundation, the reason why linear TV remains relevant? I mean, do you think that's likely to change, or do you think that is also something that's going to be something that we've got to keep an eye on?
Yeah, it's really a great question, Andrew, because the tide has certainly been shifting, specifically with live sports, on the national level, with all the streaming platforms investing heavily just to capture fragments of that space. And that example that Carl mentioned with the NFL is perfect, just across, exclusive games across multiple streaming platforms. And YouTube TV paid up premium to swipe away the rights to NFL Sunday Ticket from DirecTV, who had it since, the when Sunday Tickets first started. Mm-hmm. I'd also mentioned earlier, Disney, ABC, ESPN purchasing the NFL's media rights. We also saw Skydance recently complete their purchase of Paramount, the formerly Viacom CBS. And what's the first thing they do? They buy up the UFC rights for 7 years. That'll be exclusively on Paramount Plus. And that completely does away with the pay-per-view model for the UFC, which pay-per-view used to be a key driver for linear TV at one time. So, I think the one area with live events like sports and news where linear TV still has a strong foothold is local. And, I don't know that means regional sports networks for the major sports leagues, because regional sports networks have lost so much revenue by the decline of linear TV. They've had to branch into streaming models and are struggling to recoup the dollars that they lost in affiliate license fees that cable and satellite companies paid them on a per subscriber basis monthly. But when I say local, I mean like local news channels and local high school sports. That's the content that they can't necessarily be replaced with when you drop linear TV. But is the viewership enough for that? I don't know. It's a really great question.
It's going to be a challenge as we watch that evolve over the next, well, I was going to say the next few years, but it's actually maybe over the next few months. Things change so rapidly. If we were to roll this conversation forward 12 months, I'm sure there would be some significant changes. We will continue to do what we've done for the longest time at JD Power, just listen in to what customers taking our surveys have to say about their linear TV, their streaming TV providers. What are the trends? What are the insights? Really appreciate the thoughts and insights, Carl and Guy. Thank you for that. Also would like to thank our listeners for joining us today on this podcast. Anyone who would like further information, please do reach out to us or go to our website, jdpower.com/business. Look there for the technology, media, and telecom section. And then just a teaser for where we're headed next. We're going to be taking a look on the technology side to get some deeper insights on the latest updates that we're seeing in the internet service provider industry. So please make a note, and we look forward to reconnecting with everyone on the next podcast.